Now get up.
He is the one.
Back with another episode. Don't look here on my face. It's a pimple from all the green paint I've had on my skin recently. Am I going to develop leprosy? 90% chance. But I do it for you guys. So just keep that in mind. And also, I don't know if you noticed in the last video, but when I tried to do that high kick, couldn't get my foot over my knee. Obviously have flexibility issues. I'm going to need to work on that, whether it be hot yoga or stretching. It needs to be addressed. So we're going to be talking about private equity today. And the reason is because I talked about dilution a couple days ago, and I feel like a lot of people are very confused by it. They don't really understand where it comes from. And I'm going to explain that today in today's video. It's going to take me about 10 minutes here, so if you're interested, please listen. It's very important to watch these opening scenes from me because does have a lot of valuable information for people that might be new to the market and don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. They're only focused on the boards and the FOMO and the pumpers that are telling them one thing. They'll never bring up dilution. If you do bring up dilution, you're going to get hung from a cross. It's just the way it is. So I just kind of steer clear of that anymore, and I just release the information on this page. If you choose to listen, great. If you want to listen to the pumpers, so be it. It's your money. You do with it as you please. But the reason why penny stocks even exist and how they're not all shut down as scams is because there's so much money being made in them, not by retail investors, not even by shorters, because nobody's shorting the market. Where the money is coming from, and not the penny market, where the money is coming from is from the diluters via private equity. So these private equity firms, they're angel investors or whatever. They go to these small companies. They find somebody that has a viable story. The better the story, the higher the pump. They link up with them. They plant this CEO in. They take the financials. The reason why a lot of them aren't even current yet is because they don't even have any financials out. They still need to do all the legal shit behind the scenes to embed these notes, get the pump ready, and then they start releasing all the information. So they get all these notes embedded, convertible notes. What is a convertible note? Let's say I give the company that I pretty much set up myself $100,000 for a convertible note that's due in 4 months, and it's issuable into common after those 4 months at a 75% discount from the lowest trading day as of a certain date. It's all very confusing at first glance. That's why I'm here to try and walk you through it today, to at least give you an initiation into it. We're going to be pulling up MWWC, one of the most recent runners, and we're going to show what type of notes they have on the books, because when these shares are issuable into common, the private equity, let's say they gave them 100,000 for 4 months, and it's convertible into 300 million shares at a price of 0.001 or 0.0001 trip one, and the price is now at 0.001 because of the story that's being told. They're up 10,000% on 100,000 or 1,000% on $1,000, and that translates into $1 million. So you see how these guys can scam and make a shit ton of money real quick, and they don't care about the longevity of the company because they've already made their money. They dump it and move on to the next to tell another story. That's why, as soon as you get a death of volume, they come in and they just destroy it through these dilutive MMs that they've given their common shares to. So let's pull up an example here. So I already, OTC markets is where you're going to go to find all this stuff. Let me make this like this. Let me do this like this. And let me pull this puppy up. Because this is really important, guys. You really need to know this stuff. So you go to otcmarkets.com, you go to disclosures, you click on their most recent filing, whether it be a 10K, 10Q, whatever the case. As far as MWWC, it's the 10K, it's the annual release. They just released all their filings to get current. Like I said, so they embedded all the notes, they're ready to go, they tell the story, they get the price up, they get it to 9, to 1 attack, where the volume's dying, now we start to dump, it's already down 50%. Is there a time where they'll stop and they'll let the price relieve a little bit? Sure. Can it go past where it previously went of trip 9? Sure. I'm just getting you to understand what you're up against, because it's not just retail, it's not just profit takers, okay? You have a controller in the company that is up a huge percentage that's ready to dump on you at any time. That's why you have to follow the money in and you have to follow the money out. There's no other way around it. You're not going to beat them. There's not enough money coming from retail to be able to knock them out. I've seen it before when you get 2 million shares bought into the ask on some really hype storyline. But that is few and far between now, especially with the fact that a lot of money is not in the OTC markets as it used to be, because they've kind of ruined everything they had going, and the fact that the economy is down so low. More people are privy to this now, and you're not getting the runs that you used to. So you ignore all this shit. You don't need to know their revenue numbers. You don't need to know their cash flow. This is what you need to know right here. So issuance history, okay? Let's just read that. The goal of this section is to provide disclosure with respect to each event that resulted in any changes to the total shares outstanding, yada, yada, yada. Okay, sure. So they have to put this in writing, but if most people don't even know to look at this part. They don't even know what this means. They're just like, ooh, chart with numbers. Me no. But this is what it means, okay? As of now, their common, as of 2022, I don't know if they've had any cancellations or not. It looks like they did for 1 billion of common. That was back on 2021 though, so I'm sure that that's changed. In fact, I know that it has because of all these new shares that were released. So let's just say the common shares on the books is 4,228,000,000. Okay, and then you have preferred as well. So that is a very significant amount of shares. It's very heavy. It's hard to move. You need a mountain to move it. And they got that recently with heavy volume. But now what? Okay, so now that the price is up, let's go over the issuances. So new issuance, new issuance, new issuance, new issuance, new issuance, new issuance. 2022. Okay, so they've been setting this up for a year. So all these different these entities, Jason Schlenk, probably a scumbag, TAC Special Investments, Ted Ralston, scumbag, Joseph Caruso, scumbag. Southbridge Financial, scumbags. And they're unrestricted. Most are unrestricted. 300 million shares, 300 million shares, 300 million shares, all in common. Trip 3, Trip 3, Trip 1. Now, here's the one thing that they'll probably push back against me on as far as the pumpers go. It's under Rule 144. What's Rule 144? It's basically a restriction on when you can sell your shares. You have to have the TA release the legend on them. So you have to basically go to the TA, which are corrupt as well. It's all one big family, okay? They go to the TA, they say, oh yeah, throw that 144 on there, so we give them a little bit of confusion. We still can convert them. These 12-1 shares are probably converting now. These 10-20 shares are probably converting now. These 5-11 shares are probably converting now, all unrestricted, all at Trip 3 or less, even down to Trip 1. And, so listen, all these guys have, they even at 5, they're still up 100%. It doesn't go over how much cash they got to get these shares, but I'm sure it wasn't much. I'm sure it was a lot less than you would have paid. And I'm sure it probably cost them, let's say, $300,000. Let's just say that for sake of argument. The price goes all the way up to 9. They're up to $900,000. So from that price down, with all the volume, these 150 million share bids, dump. Let's say they dump, they're up from 300 grand to 900 grand. They dump it all the way down. Let's say 50% down. They escape with 700 grand. They just doubled their money on a very large investment, no risk whatsoever, because they know the story is going to be told. They know that they're going to get paid pumpers to come in and get the price up. They know that, the market will be excited for this. So it's almost a win-win situation for them. Okay, and then you even go down, promissory and convertible notes, even more. Outstanding balance, so this is the money owed. The maturity date, 1/4/2023. This is your accrued interest. This is the principal amount of issuance. Here's the conversion factor for these. This is Ted Ralston again. It's a loan, 75% discount, the lowest price in past 90 days. So, okay, so what was the lowest price in the past 90 days? Trip 1. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm seeing here is 10/4/2022. This guy gave them $388,000. I'm sure that has a lot to do with what we saw up here in the form of 300 million common, and they are convertible at 75% discount to Trip 1. The current price is Trip 5. Was it Trip 9? You can see. Now, listen. All these things are the real DD you need to do in any stock. You look at the red flags. Sure, go in there and see what news is coming up. Sure, see what the catalysts are in the pipeline. See what's going to cause interest in the market. See what the private equity is telling you the story is going to be. The better the story, the longer you hold. The worse the notes, the sooner you dump. Okay, so that's the important part. That's what private equity is. It's all this, and it's all this. And it's very confusing. Like I said, each different financial statement is going to look a little bit different, but you see all these notes on the books, it will bury a stock eventually. And that's why you see these stocks go up and they go down. If they don't have a great story, it'll go up and go back down, and then they'll reverse split, and then it's just a tale as old as time. It's recycled. It's cyclical. It's over and over and over again. I do not doubt that this guy and all these guys that you see, you look at this enough. I've heard Joseph Caruso before. They're all the same people. They're all part of the same family. If I wanted to go in here and do this myself, it would be like gangland. Okay, because they'd be like, nah, we got the keys. We got the control here, okay? And they all tend to be one type of person, and they don't look like this. So I'm just going to say that. I mean, they look like me, but they're not me. I'm not even going to get into that because I can't, because I have a page that's growing. You're going to have to do your own type of DD on those things. Listen, I've been looking into this for many, many years. I know what the hell I'm talking about, especially when it comes to this side of the market, and I know who controls it. I've done extensive dives into it, and I've noticed a very similar pattern that is starting to get a little bit more mainstream, but I still can't even dabble in it. I can't even mention it. All you need to know, that's not even something you need to know. What you need to know is this screen. Start to, whenever you're doing your DD on a stock and you think, oh, this is going to be a real good one, make sure that they don't have convertible notes that are due to convert anytime soon. Some will actually give you a date, their maturity date. Let's say it came in on 10/4, the maturity date might be, 6 months later. So, there's ways to find out if they are diluting. There's ways to find out if they're not. I'm so experienced, not to toot my own horn, but I can literally just look at the trading of a stock and know if they're diluting or not because I've stared at enough screens in my life that I don't even need to go into this. I just assume that they're diluting. And the way to tell that they're not is I can just look at it and be like, oh, they're not diluting. Ah, fuck, they're diluting. This is something to really pay attention to.
All right, guys, I'm going to hop right into it. That was an old opener. I'm going to be recycling all my old openers because there's no way that I did that much production for one video. So you'll be able to enjoy that. But that was pretty much speaking on dilution in the OTC. Small caps is a little bit different. They do offerings more than embedded convertible notes, but they're the same idea. I'll eventually get a video out where I talk about warrants and offerings and how dilution affects small caps, but because I don't really trade OTC anymore. But hopping kind of right into the charts right now, we're going to start with 10H. I'll give you my top 3 picks. This is one that I really liked last week, but GMA kind of stole the show. I was expecting this to hit 130. That's what it was showing me on the weekly. Just didn't do it, but it is following this trend line. I don't think it's over. It did close at the low of the day. Again, I think that a lot of people were selling to chase GME or just for other stocks. Just didn't get the volume that I expected, but it still is in play. I mean, it's a very low float stock, 94% insider owned. If you want to hold this and swing it, your downside is probably 72. If you can get in there, great. It might not get down there. We'll have to see how the volume is tomorrow. I might be completely wrong and it might shoot right back up tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll be monitoring that. But it is not necessarily one of my top picks. Next one is going to be JAGX. Another thin stock that recently went through a reverse split and now is coming down to all-time lows. If you look back, this is the daily. I mean, you're pretty much right there. If this comes down to 3, it's a very, very good buy because you have a lot of upside. You got a gap at 16. You're at 3. It's really thin with the recent RS. The company likes to put out news. Even if it's bullshit, it doesn't matter. Anything that comes out on this stock, as long as GME is not running to the moon like it's been recently and stealing all the volume from the rest of the small caps, then this is a very good buy in low 3s. I would be looking for low 3s to load the boat on JAGX. Again, not one of my top picks, but keep that, set an alert, low 3s, set it at like 320. If it hits that, start buying it. The other one that I wanted to show before I do my top 3 was SMFL. Again, another stock that if you actually look at this trend line, it came right back down to it. If you extend this, you're pretty much right there. So you're coming back down to this line. I don't know that it's going to get all the way down to 2s. That would be kind of ridiculous. I don't know I think some type of bullish news came out on Friday. Maybe the company bought shares or somebody bought shares, maybe the CEO. I don't know. But either way, this is coming back down to a buy zone. This was one of my top picks. It did go from last week and it did go from like $3 to $8. So I believe it was one of my top picks last week. Either way, I called this out at 3 and it ran to 8. So be watching this, be watching it on this trend line, set this stuff up, set alerts. That's the most important thing because you might not be paying attention and then an alert goes off and you have some cash and you know that it's going to be a good buy-in. So my top 3 picks this week, I apologize that I don't have as much time for this video, but I do have other things I got to do tonight. So Buru is one of them, B-U-R-U. Another one that I'm holding is NCPL. Let's just actually get that out of the way. NCPL, again, not one of my top picks, but this thing could get moving. It's thin and it's like really low. Looking for about 13 target to make sure I get it out safely. I'm loaded pretty heavy in this. I have 300,000 shares, so you give me 13, I make 9 grand, I go bye bye. It's really that simple. But it is at a very, very low price, and it looks like it's trying to reverse off the bottom. So, top three picks, you got Buru. Buru. I don't really know why, but it's getting a lot of attention on social media. I did have this and I flipped it for 500 bucks just because it was Friday and I just wanted to end the week on some type of gain. And I sold it for AEMD, which is another one of my top picks. I'll explain why. But Buru, look, it's got a lot of attention. This thing is known to go on runs. They have compliance news coming up, supposedly. I don't know. Maybe some type of good news came out on Friday. I don't follow it that much. I just know that it's getting a lot of buzz, and that's usually what causes a lot of FOMO, which will push the price. Just make sure you're taking gains in this market. It's the summer. It's the beginning of June. They keep saying small cap summer. I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think that it's any different than any other summer where people are on vacation and there's not going to be as much volume. So when you do get pushes and you are at a significant gain, make sure that you start to scale out. But Buru looks incredible for this week just based on buzz on StockTwits, social media, in the Discord. A lot of people are talking about it. And that's really all you need to know. I don't care if these companies currently diluting. I don't care if they have open warrants because it's not in an offer. When they put out offerings, the price is usually high. Like I bet you they put up an offering when it was up here because the price is high. They can put out offering and sell and make they can fund the company with those types of things. So that's what these companies do. So when the price is really high, the reason why it's going to tank is because they're going to take advantage of that. The company is. That's what these companies are in the public markets for, is to raise money for operations. So Buru is a great stock for right now. Let's monitor it. I will probably be buying this pre-market depending on if it gaps up hard or not. But Buru is one of my top picks, currently at 15, looking for a target around 20. ISPC. I am not currently holding a position in this, but be looking for, if you can possibly get it, 30. That would be the middle band. But, look, the reason why AEMD and ISPC are two of my top picks this week is because the bird flu news. They're going to start to run with this. They're going to come back for these stocks. They went on ridiculous runs last week and then they sold off. But they're going to come back for this. The theme is going to stay strong. There's going to be news coming out on it. One of these days, these stocks are going to run hard again. I don't know exactly when, but they will. So I'm saying within this week, ISPC, you don't really even need to look at the chart. Obviously, it's all over the place, very thin. Just try and get in at the lows. 30 is going to be your bottom if it gets there. If not, I wouldn't say chase anything, but get shares of ISPC and get shares of AEMD because that theme will come back with the news continuing. Just like when it was war stocks and Hub C and SPCB were running and they were running drastically, that was the theme. Bird flu is the theme now. War is obviously out of the picture. AEMD, it's just coming off the bottom, really oversold. This is why I loaded this one below 55 aftermarket because it closed at 59. Super thin. This thing can run like crazy. 52.35 is a good buy-in. You get anything low 50s, buy it. This could be going to $1 easily by next week or the end of this week. So you're looking at a double here. ISPC, maybe double. AEMD, maybe double. Buru, I'm just not expecting that big of a rise, but that thing could double as well. Just off hype. So you got bird flu stocks, you buy them, and you just wait for the theme to come back around. And Buru is just going off of hype on Twitter and StockTwits. Those are my top 3 picks. Hopefully you enjoyed the opener. Hopefully you learned something about dilution. Even if you don't trade OTC, it's a good opening on just to get the idea of what these companies do and why they don't care about you and why they are just using you as an ATM to make their money. And that's it. They don't, trust me, none of these companies are they don't have your best interest in mind. They hate you. They want you to lose money because if you're losing money, they're making it. It's just that's why you follow the money in and you follow the money out. So that's it. I hope you guys have a good rest of the weekend, even though it's almost over, and we will see where these top 3 picks end next week. See ya.